People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you for having me. Now at this point, I'm pretty sure you've seen my preview in relation to the Southampton game. If you haven't, people, I'm going to make sure I appeal to your conscience. Make sure you go and watch that. I work bloody hard for you lot. But having had a chance to glance over some of the pre-game talk and Emery pre-game, there's been a couple things I want to speak about. First and foremost is Dani Ceballos. Now, I actually named him in my starting lineup in the preview. He's out until mid-December. I can't remember the injury, but he's out until mid-December. Whether you believe Dani Ceballos has necessarily proven the hype, if there was hype, or proven to try and make him permanent, is up to you. But obviously, we're approaching a difficult period in terms of just looking at the fixtures, the stature of the clubs we have to face between now and the 1st of January, 2nd of January, whenever we play against United. Because I think we have United and Palace in the new year to go with November to December. It's a tough period, and you want every member of your side fit and available because they are going to be required, people. This is the most difficult time now, November until probably, I'd say, early February, mid-February, people, because the games are going to come thick and fast. Obviously, the FA Cup and the Europa League will advance to the latter stages. Obviously, you've got a squad of 26, but the games are going to come thick and fast, and you want everybody in the side. And yeah, it's a bit of a pill to swallow in terms of that, and November's not been kind to us at all in terms of fixtures, but injuries are now creeping in. After just getting everybody back, I swear there was a tweet out Arsenal had no injured players at a point during the international break. That is now over. Unai Emery has actually said Xhaka might be brought back into the team. He's played quite quiet. He hasn't said it's definite, but he hasn't ruled it out. He said he'll decide tomorrow if he's playing. Let's not be naive, people. We can probably agree, if he wants to agree tactically, if it was best for Xhaka to start tomorrow, well, on Saturday, deciding tomorrow, he said that's on Unai Emery. But Unai Emery, for those of you comment keyboard warriors that question how I pronounce the man's name. But for me, people, he's obviously have to have coordinated with not just Raul Sanya and Edu, but there must be, I don't know if the communications officer or something, but in terms of language to the fans, or how you carefully bring Xhaka back in, that if there is someone that deals with the PR or something, this has probably been a serious sort of coordinated move, because it's going to be difficult. At the end of the day, it's football, and fans, we've got to move on from it now, pull our pants up. I still maintain our Xhaka needs to be sold, but if he's in the team, he's in the team, and we can't, what can we say? I can question it, but what can I say? He's still going to go out there and play. There are going to be boos or sour comments and whatnot when Xhaka does, if he does return, and when he does return, whether he's warming up or comes on. This ain't the end. It's not a thing where this international break is killed, that Xhaka's going to play and it's all forgotten. Listen, I believe no one's right. I feel Xhaka was wrong to how he reacted, but he was also justified in some of his actions. Fans are allowed to voice their opinions, but some fans do take it too far. And now that it's all said and done, nobody's hands are completely clean in that situation. I'm sure most fans would agree with that statement, people. So maybe Xhaka, we know Xhaka's played a lot under Unai Emery. Would Emery have the bottle to, apologies, that's me, people. Would Emery have the bottle, people, to for want of a better word, the bottle to start Xhaka? That's on him. My guess is if he is to be in the matchday squad of some capacity, he'll be brought on the bench, potentially not brought on, because, I mean, what Emery could do is that if Xhaka doesn't necessarily play and he wants to bring him back, the next game week or two, even if it's Europa League, you don't necessarily start him, but you could have him on the bench and kind of normalise fans to the fact that Xhaka is being integrated. Of course, when you hear his name on the announcer, there will be boos and there will be other initial teething problems, people, like we've said. But it is what it is. With that being said, I'd change my lineup, people. I'd actually change back to 4-3-3. I would obviously go with Leno in goal. The fullbacks pick themselves in Hector Bellerin and Kieran Tierney on the left and right hand side, respectively. Centre-half options are really the best out of a bad bunch. If we are 100% honest with ourselves, I'm going to go with David Luiz and Holding. Now, Holding hasn't been in good form since he's come back from his injury. Potentially, there's a case for Callum Chambers potentially to play with Luiz, because Chambers, it's been so long, but I'm sure Chambers hasn't been perfect in games. But on the large scheme of things, grand scheme of things, on the large part this season, Chambers has been okay. So potentially Callum Chambers, you know what? Forget it, man. You know what? Callum Chambers and David Luiz. And then I'll go with, obviously we've mentioned the fullback, so that's the back five. Midfield, with Ceballos' problems now, I would go with Guendouzi and Lucas Torreira. Mesut Ozil would play in his 10 position. and I'd go with. I know I was saying to put Lacazette on the bench, but now that I think about it, regardless of his form, Laka, Aubameyang, and Pepe, just release them all, people, and we'll deal with it. So I'd go with a 4-3-3, but that would be me. It's a bitter pill to swallow about Ceballos because he's out until mid-December. We're already pushed for central midfield options. Obviously, Xhaka is an isolated incident in itself, so if we just assume Ceballos is out for the foreseeable future and Xhaka isn't brought back in, then we're actually pressed at midfield because there's not really central midfield options beyond that. You've got young Joe Willock, who I'm not saying he's happy people are injured, but he should be looking confident to get chances. You've obviously got Guendouzi and Lucas Torreira. There's not many other options past that, really and truly, when you talk about these factors. He clearly doesn't trust Maitland-Niles in the central midfield role, whether you believe he should be played there or not. So it's not going to happen for him, at least that's what we're being seen. Obviously, Mesut Ozil could potentially play slightly deeper and whatnot, because I mean he could look to David Silva, but I don't think he would do that. Like I said, Joe Willock. So it is what it is in that regards, people. We know Arsenal need a central midfielder, potentially two would be my preference, but we need one even more so with these sort of things that are happening at the club, people, really and truly with you. So I've revised my lineup a bit, people. I've reverted back to my old tactics with a 4-3-3 with obviously the news, but I maintain all the messages in the first Southampton video I made. We need to get back to winning ways. Now, I find myself saying that every week, we need to get back to winning ways, and we find ourselves a way of preventing just that. We're at the point you can't feel sorry for yourselves, people. Again, not saying that because Jose Mourinho has gone to Spurs, he's going to be a success, but that squad is potentially going to be galvanised now. The one saving grace, if there was one, is that United, Arsenal and Man United, Arsenal and Spurs have all been poor. If Spurs go on a run now and go ahead of you, and all the other teams below us that could potentially move level or ahead of us, depending on how goal different factors in, what are they saying, people? Because if Spurs go through a bit of a resurgence like you typically see when new managers come in, they further complicate top four. Because right now, top four looks, you can write it on paper right now if November was to close. Leicester and Chelsea are going to get it to go with Manchester City and Liverpool. If Leicester drop form, I think there's a good case for them dropping form, but I think they're going to continue this personally, people. Obviously, I hope that not to be the case for Arsenal to have a sniff, but we can't feel sorry for ourselves. Against Southampton, it don't matter how you do it, you need to get 3 points, and what I'm hoping from the players is, obviously with the break, the noise as the official channels refer to it as, I won't say it's quieting down, but we just haven't been playing, so it's not been spoken about. So kind of, it's all going to creep its way back in if we do lose, or if the game doesn't move how we want it to be. But for me, you owe it to go out there, play with some clarity, play with some self-belief, try and find your opponents and whatnot, people. I mean, try and find your teammates in behind lines of your opponents and whatnot, man. Like, actually play convincingly, shut out, score early, play with a convincing win and walk away with 3 points. I keep hearing players say we just need to go on a winning run, we just need to do this. How do you get a winning run? Consistency. Consistency starts in defence. Not just how our defence defends, but our whole outlook as a team. The first line of defence is what, people? It's actually Aubameyang and Lacazette. Now, not to criticise both of them, because they come through more often than not, especially Aubameyang, but are they necessarily coached well off the ball? When Pepe plays, is he coached well off the ball? Is it a coordinated press? We do show a coordinated press in isolated games and incidences where we've clearly worked on something, but game by game, you look at a lot of Arsenal goals. How many goals have you seen that Arsenal have conceded has started from a throw-in, and if somebody pressed, something could have stopped, but a ball went into the midfield and it was played over the top? Obviously, there's several mistakes in an action I just described, but you get the point, people. It's how we look at it. To be consistent, you need to be able to how to defend. You need to be able to go to away games like Anfield, like Sheffield, like Leicester, and walk away with something convincing. It is what it is. We haven't looked convincing away from home this season, bar, okay, give or take, we won at the end of the day against Newcastle and the season just started. But this is the sort of things you've got to do. It's easy to talk, but the more you miss these chances, the more you'll find yourself in May saying, oh man, what if we did this? Because we missed out by a point last year in May. And it weren't a thing where we ran it to the end and we missed out by a point. We know we shot ourselves several times in the foot. Now let's be realistic. We are going to lose and draw games in the Premier League at some point in the future. We already have. So all we can do now is not forget about the past, and use it to fuel us for the future and deal with the uncertainties that comes in the future. But the only guarantee that for us to have a positive future, at least for this season, is if the players in the present actually stop, critique themselves, think about where they're going wrong. Because as much as I feel Emery is to blame for a lot of these issues, at the end of the day, the players are the ones playing. And I do think it's very easy to play for this football club at times, people. I'm not going to lie to you, because there's not question marks. I'm not saying these players aren't professional. I'm not saying these players are happy with playing poorly and stuff. They're of course going to be unhappy. They're professional footballers. But I know that. Does everyone know that? You need to show everybody. You need to, the fans, forget all the noise, the media. You need to give the fans something, because there's not much for me to do to support this team, or not much I can get behind with Arsenal right now, beyond the fact of I'm an Arsenal fan, because the team don't give the fans any confidence with the way they play. And that's where the fans are at now, people. Most rational fans, small hope, because again, mathematically top 4 is there. Brain is telling you it's a myth. Small hope that these players can turn it around. But the players need to do it now. They need to actually link up together, and not with Emery and the coach and stuff. Everybody link up and have it out. Say what they feel is going wrong, what they feel is going right. Potentially suggest that stuff to Emery of how they can improve, or sort it out amongst themselves. Now it's difficult because Emery's the coach. Failed to listen to the coach. Regardless of if we believe in Emery or not, he won't play you. I do think these players make mistakes, but at the same time, if Emery is picking them and playing them and telling them to play a certain way, it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, that's not working, do something else. And they can. You heard all the Invincibles say they used to do that to Wenger all the time, that obviously he was a talented coach, but sometimes it weren't working, so we fixed it between ourselves. And that works when you've got a team like that are a different cut of a different cloth. These players are not like that, so it's not gonna happen in that regards, people. If they don't listen to the coach, they're not gonna play, and we don't always see that sort of element, people. So I hope Emery, with the time off he's had, I've seen he's gone to watch Spanish second division football and things like that with the players that haven't been involved in international football. Time to train and stuff. Even the ones that have been in international football, put Arsenal to the back burner and kind of refresh. We need to go again, because at the end of the day, come 4:45, 5 o'clock, when I'm coming out the stadium and trying to make way to my AFTV interview, I need to see Arsenal 3 points. Like, you need to see Arsenal 3 points, nothing less. I don't care how you do it, just walk away with that 3 points, because you need to be looking at 9 to 12 points from these next probably 4 games minimum, people. My maths almost let me down there, but yeah, these next 4 games, because the 5th game, forgive me if I'm wrong, is Manchester City, as I've said before. We've got Southampton at home, they're 19th, games aren't won on paper, but you need to win that. I'm sure after that I think it's Norwich and then it's Brighton, or it could be Brighton and then Norwich. I don't know, people, but I know we've got, off the top of my head, Southampton, Norwich, Brighton, West Ham away. West Ham, we lost there last season. We need to show what we can do. Their home form until recent, forgive me if I'm wrong, was fairly decent. West Ham beat us there last season. You know West Ham like to turn up against us, and to a degree, I think they fancy playing Spurs a bit more. It's like West Ham hate Spurs, and obviously shout out to my West Ham G's, but they're not going to make that easy for us. We need to be getting 12 points. Arsenal's shown we probably won't. We'll probably get 3 or won't get nothing, but we need to be getting 12 points, because when that City game comes, you need that damage limitation element, having taken that safety net of points. And also, people, you need to also put in a respectable performance against Man City, because you can't getting drummed 4-5-0. There's no hiding place. The manager runs the risk of, at least at the end of the season, losing his role. Some of these players, I know some of you are on good deals and some of you are this and that, but some of you might not be here under a new manager, or full stop after this period, because this period we're going through is going to be nothing short of a mad thing. It is. Look at our games, people. We've got away games, we're playing big teams frequently. Listen, we could be so unhappy on Christmas Day, and come the 1st of January, we could be stressed, people. But we'll see what happens, and we'll cross them bridges when we get to it. But for now, people, deluded, I'm out. God bless you guys. It's been a pleasure to sit here and do this vid, but I've got more to make. Comment, subscribe, check out my description for more details on how you can keep up with the guy. But for now, out.